Hey,
Welcome
hey.
to our emotions and essential oil class. See, Rone and I are so excited. Go ahead, Rone.
I was just going to welcome everybody to class. I was going to do a quick disclaimer. We are not doctors. We cannot diagnose or treat. We are educators, and we're so excited to educate tonight on emotions and essential oils, especially um, right now. And I'm going to give just a little bit of a disclaimer. Leanne has had some emotional stuff happen in her life in the last 24 hours. And so everything's real and raw right now. But we're excited that she's here because teaching is one of her therapy methods. And so, Leanne, thank you for being here tonight. We also have Jared Jarvis, who will jump in here and say hello as well. We are so excited to teach this class. Leanne, please share your screen.
All right. So, when it comes to our emotions, we have three different brains. And when I learned this, I was like, huh. But the more I have studied about our emotions and how they affect our bodies, the more I know this is true, right? So we have our mind, our actual brain. Then we have our heart, which is where we discern. And then we have our gut. And I want you guys to think of an emotion. For me, right now, like Rone said, it's grief. I want you to place your hand where in the body you feel that emotion. And I have two places. My mommy heart hurts, and then I am sick to my stomach. That just grief just hits there, right? And so being able to identify where in the body that some of these emotions are coming from helps us to identify where we might need to apply the oils or how we can best support ourselves in that. Jared, do you want to talk about the three ways we use essential oils?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to jump in and I love that we talk about these ways to use them and we try to simplify how we can use them so that it's really something that's not scary for people to be able to do and use. And so one of my favorite easiest ways, and it's the way that most people know essential oils, is aromatherapy. And we can diffuse them, we can put them into the air, I can even self-diffuse them, putting them on my hands, rub my hands together, breathe them in, put them in my hair, put them on me, around me, wherever that scent is. I love having essential oils in or around me, and I tend to smell like my oils. I was walking through a hospital visiting a dear friend, and I started noticing a nurse following me, and she was walking around, kind of going. And so I kind of stood there for a second. She finally came up, and I admitted it was me. I smelled like oranges, and she, said, is that really you? I said, yes. She says, I love it so much. How do I get it? Just because it was a happy scent, and she was trying to figure out where it was coming from. So, not only can it benefit us when we're diffusing, it can benefit everyone around us. That second way that we love teaching people and talking about using these, and it's one of those ways that a lot of people know, is using them topically, putting them directly onto your skin. And on the topic of using them topically, we tend to talk about using them with carrier oils, whether that's fractionated coconut oil, olive oil, vegetable oils, jojoba oil. If you're outside of Arizona, it might be jojoba oil or other things. There's lots of different oils that people use them for or use
Hmm.
them with. But one of the reasons that a carrier oil is so effective is because it keeps it on your skin a little bit longer. These oils tend to be volatile and they flash off very quickly. And it's just a great way to be able to increase that absorption and target some of that benefit. Added bonus, added benefit, if you are using an oil that is maybe a hotter oil, something that might be a skin sensitivity thing, a little bit of coconut oil goes a long way, or in absence of a carrier oil, a little bit of milk. So there's some options there. The third way that we like to teach people about using these different oils, and really I would only ever talk about using doTERRA, specifically essential oils for this, is that internal method of use. Putting it into my drinking water and just a drop or two. It doesn't take very much. I know Leanne cooks with her oils. There's lots of different benefits that they're actually finding of using these oils internally, and some fantastic absorption. But again, that quality is so important when we're talking about putting something into our bodies. We want to make sure that it's free of those pesticides, fillers, solvents, additives, other things in there that might not be good for us, for our families, for our loved ones, and those that we come into contact with.
Perfect. Thanks.
So I want
So,
to mention briefly the reason why doTERRA. Okay. Because it is CPTG, certified pure tested grade. It is the number one most tested essential oil in the world. They test it 56 different ways before it reaches you, the consumer, and they do third-party testing as well as internal testing. The third-party testing is the most important part because internal testing, I it's hard to know if a company is full of integrity, but when they have third-party testing, that's where you know that there's the integrity because that third party has nothing to gain. So CPTG, certified pure tested grade. That's what you want to look for. And doTERRA is the only brand out there that has it.
right. So this class is super important to me because I am all about, and I know Jared and Rone are as well, mind, body, and spirit. And when you bring those three together, equals holistic wellness. And Dr. Candace Pert, who is a neuroscientist and a pharmacologist, said feelings are really chemicals that can help or hurt. And there, if you guys want it, I can get you the science behind our emotions affect our physical health, and our physical health can affect our emotions. And they have done some studies that it showed that emotions trigger peptides in the body, and those peptides are information carriers and molecules that bind to our cells and our receptors. And Ronay and I are emotion code practitioners, so we've learned even more about essential oils, I mean, about emotions, even beyond what we know about essential oils. So we all have life experiences. Those life experiences create emotions. Those emotions can be good, bad, or somewhere in between, because there are neutral emotions. And as we process these, we're trying to figure it out. And we have like our brain is doing the figuring it out. Our heart is processing the emotions that get processed in the heart, and then the emotions that get processed in the gut. Every one of our organs actually has certain emotions that those organs resonate or process for us. So, from an emotional standpoint, they have found that our entire body emotions affect, right? So we might have a reaction from these emotions that cause head tension or conflict, which is kind of the heart area, or like I talked about, like that sick to your stomach or that unsettled gut. Well, these emotions and our reactions then create beliefs. And in the work I do, there are limiting beliefs, there are faulty beliefs, there are core beliefs that are positive and good, and there's despair anchors, these beliefs that just consume everything. And when we use essential oils, it can help us weed out those emotions. So, Ronay, anything I'm that your document covers that I haven't?
Oh, was it last week we talked about, or the week before we talked about pain management? I'm sorry, discomfort management. Old sheets, they have words that we don't say anymore. Um, but one of the things I always use these documents together. This is the mood management, this is the discomfort management, because when you look at the oils that help one, they help the other. And I think that that's a really, really cool part. So if you are dealing with, oh, let's say you're dealing with, um, give me a part of the body. Somebody.
I'm going to say shoulders.
Shoulders. Okay. So let's say we've got, I just need to find that. Okay. This one's a little bit more like general, but let's say inflammation, right? So
Okay.
we've got inflammation in the shoulders. You can apply rosemary, eucalyptus, or lavender. When you look at lavender or is relaxing, rosemary is stimulating. Oftentimes with inflammation, you need one or the other. It also goes into where we've got, oh, this is really good. Grief. Grief often lands in the shoulders, correct?
Yep. That's why I picked it.
So lavender, lemon, bergamot, geranium, clary sage, Roman chamomile, all of those are really good. And all of them, it says to diffuse or inhale, because when we're dealing with emotions, fastest way to your amygdala, which is your emotional center, is through the olfactory senses. So you breathe it in, it goes to your amygdala, down your pituitary, your thyroid, your parathyroid, your hypothalamus, and your whole limbic system goes, right? That's your body relaxing. That's your limbic system just relaxing. And that's the other thing is so often when we are in distress, we stop breathing. So right now I want to do just a really quick, if you are in emotional distress, right? One of the fastest ways, put your hand over your heart. You can even put your hand over your heart and your belly, right? Because again, some of us we feel it not only in our hearts, but our bellies, one or the other. Pick your poison, right? Sorry. Not probably the best choice, but put your hand. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to take a deep breath in and let it all out. And again, and let it all out. What that does is it sends a signal from your heart to your brain that says, you are safe. Everything is good. And that is a really fast way to do that. You want to double that, put a drop of essential oils in your hands, rub your hands together, put one hand over your heart and the other hand over your nose, and breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. That quickens that calming experience that happens.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the first things I went to because I was in a state of overwhelm. When I got the news, I could barely breathe. Um, and so the first thing I grabbed was adaptive, and I put adaptive on my heart chakra. And then my next layer go to, and I'm going to share my screen again, comes from the emotional aromatherapy kit. This kit has been a lifesaver, truthfully. And for our family, we have it in the rollers. So we like the rollers because it's really easy because that carrier oil is already built in. And we use the bottles that we have to use in diffusers. So I went to Console. And Console, if you look at the chart, you can see Console is a mix of flower and tree oils. And you can see the words there of what it helps: fearful, worried, hurt, grieving, sad, ashamed. So that was my next go to layer on. Well, I don't know what's really going on. And my mommy heart was also a little angry at God. And so I put forgive on because I don't understand. He's so young. He was a good kid. As far as everyone knew, he was in good health, but we don't know. And so our son's goalie on his hockey team passed away. Lots of unanswered questions, lots of grief. But yesterday was also the 4-year anniversary of my father passing away. So in the morning, I was dealing with leftover grief that I thought I had dealt with. It's been 4 years, but for some reason, it just all came right back. And so I'd already been using some of these oils, and then, and I forgot to pull it out because I put it back away. I layered it. I already had carrier oil from the Adaptive, the Forgive, and the Cold Soul. I added um, balance, which helps me kind of balance out all the emotions going on. And then lime, which lime is the zest of life. And that helps intensify all the other oils that I was using in my arsenal. Let me know if this flips screens, you guys, because these are very limiting emotions, but it gets you in the right track, right? Um, Anxious, insecure, apathetic, discouragement, gloom, and distress. Motivate is what you'd go to. So you can kind of see how you kind of can see there is overlap in these blends. So you can see which oils. So I'm going to flip. Did it switch to the wheel of emotions?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Um, in my college course that I am taking right now, they're helping us understand emotions a little bit deeper. So if anybody wants a copy of this will, comment in the below, and I will get a copy to Rode or send it myself if I have your email. But it
Comment
talks about
wheel.
what?
Comment wheel.
Oh yeah, comment will. Thing I love about this is kind of like the basic emotions that a lot of us understand, right? Fear, anger, disgust, sadness, happiness, or surprise. But if you look at each of those, the next layer goes a little bit deeper, right? If you're sad, there could be guilty in there, abandoned, despair, depressed, lonely, or bored. It can be remorseful, ashamed, ignored, victimized, powerless, vulnerable, inferior, empty, abandoned, isolated, apathetic, or indifferent. So I love that because then also, I'm going to stop sharing. One of my favorite resources is, I don't know if you guys can see that or the glare, essential emotions, and being able to go to the back of the book and find what you're feeling and then what oils you can go to. So I'm going to just go to grief since that seems to be a good one to talk. We're kind of on that pattern. And grieving, console, breathe, because oftentimes when you are grieving, you cannot catch your breath. And I can testify when I found out that's where I was. I
That
couldn't
was the
breathe.
that was the one I was going to mention. Breathe with lime. Again, lime is an intensifier of other oils, but I have had times where I have had panic attacks. If you've ever had a panic attack, you cannot breathe. And sometimes, like, my brain won't work at that point. It's terrifying. And I'm glad that I haven't had one for a very long time. But my family all knows to grab the breathe, and instead of like putting it in my face, they'll put it on their hand and kind of waft it toward me until they can get close enough to put it on my hand and let me bring my hand up to my face. So that's one of those ways that if you are in such distress that you can't do it for yourself, make sure your family knows that that's one of those things that can help. Also, for me, any citrus oil will also do that.
Right, exactly. And I love my family. We've all talked about it and all played with the oils. And I know what each of my children's rescue or emotional go-to oil is so that we can support them. So, I mean, there's so many, you guys. The next piece I'll talk about in a minute is the kids collection. We'll talk about that in a second. So, Rescuer from the kids collection, Manuka, Deep Blue, Geranium, Siberian Fir, Supermint, Spanish Sage, Ylang Ylang. So there might be some of these that you're like, ooh, I do not like that smell. But guess what? That means that there's all these other ones that do support that. When it comes to supporting our kids' emotions, the emotional aromatherapy kit is perfect, but may not hit their concerns completely. So in the kids collection, it also comes with these cute little cards that support them and help them. And there is both a physical and emotional component, almost every card, and tells them how to use it. So I love that. Um, Super important when we're dealing with emotions that we teach our kids it's okay to not be okay. And I'm giving permission to every single adult who may not have had that in the past. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to yell. It's okay to need a release emotionally. One of my favorite things to do to support emotional release of overwhelm or fear is we freeze in silicone ramekins the um, water. So they're in discs. So you can just huck them and um, and feel better. Jared, do you have any tools or tricks that you want to add? Oh, you're muted.
Okay. So for me, uh, I tend to find my happy places, and very often that's going someplace that brings me peace. Someplace that I know that I can spend a little bit of time, really just internalizing what's going on and facing it. I found that stuffing it isn't necessarily the way to deal with those things. But I've never been a yeller, never been somebody that yells or screams and smashes stuff. That's not who I am. But I found my own ways of expressing and getting those things out, and I've really found peace in journaling and other forms of expression.
I
Perfect.
also find that grounding, getting outside, getting your feet in the dirt, on the grass. It's a little hard in Minnesota during the winter,
Hard
but
in Arizona when it's 100 plus degrees.
that's true. That that would be very hard too. But getting out in nature, like you were saying, and hugging a tree. I have these big, huge, beautiful 75 to 100-year-old maples. And I don't necessarily always hug, but like sitting with my back against one of the trees and my feet on the ground is one of those super peaceful things to do. Or even like laying in the hammock and just staring up at the leaves, and nature is an awesome free release.
Yeah. I forgot to look for one of the resources that I used to have, and it looks like it's gotten buried on the doTERRA website. But one of the greatest things that I have in my arsenal, and like I said, I will find it, is they had a kids science workbook that talked about emotions with kids, and it had different emojis on it for them to kind of help associate. Um, but there are great resources that also come along with, you can order with the emotions book. They have a worksheet that can help with kids that have those emotions on them, so that we can discuss emotions with our kids. The more we normalize emotions, the healthier we are, mind, body, and spirit. So that is all I had prepared. I will drop in the chat. Ronay has a blog titled Supporting Mental Health Naturally. She also has a Supporting Emotions Naturally blog. And I have a Supporting Emotions with Essential Oil blog. I'll drop those in. Jared and Ronay, any parting words before we stop the recording, and then we will do the emotions Q&A.
Well, you put in a plug for emotion code. I will also put in a plug for knowing your strengths. When you know your strengths, you know who you are at your core. And when you know who you are at your core, you're able to be stronger emotionally because, like, for me, knowing that I have woo high and knowing that I have positivity high and all of these things, I'm a very energetic person. In fact, I have 9 out of my top 10 are energetic strengths. My husband is a very logical person. Knowing his strengths, I have better communication because I understand that he is not emotional. He is not flowery. In fact, we just had a conversation recently where I was like, hey, you know, he was like, hey, I don't like it when you do that one thing, right? And it was just something touching his neck, right? And I was like, well, actually, I love it when you touch my neck. And so just understanding the communication, he was like, oh, I just never did that because I don't like that. I'm like, well, I do, right? So understanding people's strengths opens up communication. So for 30 years, we didn't know this about each other, and now we do. So I'll just put in a plug for knowing your strengths because when you do that, it's going to help you in all areas of your life.
And I'm just going to say, you know what, having community, having connections with people is one of the things that for me truly brings me joy, brings me happiness, and helps me to be able to deal with some of these things. And I know you probably can't really read that. Can you read that?
It's backwards. You
Backwards. I am so sorry. It
study.
says, new study finds that cuddling can calm you, reduce stress, and strengthen your heart. And there's new science every day that is reinforcing and backing up the importance of our connections to other people, to the world around us. Uh, Shar, who is my wife, was watching a TV show last night, and she got so excited afterwards. And she came out and talked to me, and she said, "You have to see this scene. They talked about Shinrin-yoku." And I thought, oh my gosh, this is so cool. You know, it's this Japanese practice of connecting to the earth, connecting to the world around us. And as a result, there's connections that further and deepen with other people too. And so I thought it was fun that, you know, we're really seeing a resurgence in all of these practices and all of these things that we can do to connect and really see how that shows up and can make a difference not only in our lives, but the lives of those around us. And so we love this community. We love that we get to teach these classes, and we love when people come and want to connect with us even after the cameras turn off or after the recording stops. So if you're not here live with us, you're about to miss the best part.
That's awesome. And Jared, thank you for that reminder. I just grabbed my Shinrin Roku and rolled it on my wrists, and I'm like, oh, and I will put it on my feet before I go to bed tonight so that I can help with that grounding.
It's in my
I
diffuser every night.
Yeah, it's generally in my diffuser, but I definitely could use the extra boost, right? So I did forget one area that I did have ready as well. So I'm going to open up my share one more time. I wanted to remind you guys there are so many resources on doterra.com. If you go to discovery and then discover solutions, it brings you to this page. And there is a bunch of information under mood management right here for you: calming anxious feelings, creating love and connection, energy and motivation, finding comfort, lifting discouragement, and memory. But then if you come to the search bar and you type emotions or essential emotions, obviously I've been doing that kind of research today, right? You can get to this area where emotional benefits of aromatherapy, there's products there. I do like to type in essential emotions because you get way more resources. So there's podcasts. Episode 4 deals with emotions and essential oils, benefits of aromatherapy, more episodes on how emotions play a role on our weight. So I love look at all of these different resources that are in here. So make sure you are coming here. If you look at the blogs, there's blogs specific to each of these emotional aromatherapies. There's a blog about balance and how it supports our emotion, adaptive and the science behind it. So make sure you're playing around with this. There are so many resources at our fingertips that we often don't think about. So I just want to put a plug in for the doTERRA website. Again, discover and then discover solutions, or even education. If you come to education, it targeted information, and there's a customized solution to your health problems. And there's information here that you can learn about cellular health, 30-day cleanse, 90-day cleanse, nutrition, seasonal support, immune support, metabolic, clean energy, like managing stress. So check out these sections from the website and make sure that you are utilizing the tools we have and then using the oils you have in your home. So I'm going to stop the recording. Thanks for joining us tonight.